Now on Up North Live News at 6. Owners of an Antrim County movie theater are calling out government officials for allegedly not treating the nonprofit fairly in its request for property tax exemption, where the dispute stands tonight. How the death of a paramedic's father inspired a movement to make sure the right tools are available to save lives. Plus, how the Downtown Development Authority in Gaylord is trying to improve the core part of its downtown. And we head north to explore Michigan and this weekend's I-500, a guide of things to do surrounding the annual race.
This is Up North Live News at 6 on 7 and 4.
Owners of an Antrim County movie theater are calling out officials for allegedly not treating the nonprofit fairly in its request for property tax exemption. The Elk Rapids Cinema is owned by the Chalfante Foundation. The foundation is appealing a decision by Elk Rapids Township to deny the organization's application for tax-exempt status. Our Allie Baxter looked into this.
So this is a process that could carry out for multiple years.
It's been more than a year since the Chalfante Foundation bought the Elk Rapids Cinema. As its new owners look to grow the cinema's community impact, they say they're hitting roadblocks. In a news release sent out Wednesday, Foundation President Aaron Timlin said the nonprofit was denied a property tax exemption by Elk Rapids Township. The taxes on the property total more than $10,000, an amount that Timlin said he'd rather see being used
At the cinema to fix a leaky roof, to buy the equipment for our community radio station that we're starting up, our kids' television, internet television talk show that we're going to do.
The nonprofit appealed the township's decision. According to the Michigan Tax Tribunal records, the case won't have a hearing until October. Records showed the township denied the tax exemption because the property was not being used solely for charitable purposes.
No other explanation.
Timlin says he wasn't given any clarity on how the property wasn't being used for charitable reasons. He assumes it could be because the cinema charges for admission. But Timlin says there are other nonprofit theaters in Michigan who charge for tickets.
I also mentioned the idea of expanding in the cinema, because we do have land next to the cinema that I kind of envisioned expanding. And then when the family heard my talking about that, they pulled up some drawings that Joe, the previous owner who owned it for almost 50 years and ran it, he already had done plans for an expansion.
In Antrim County, Allie Baxter, Up North Live News.
And we did reach out to the Elk Rapids village manager and the township assessor today. Neither responded by airtime.
Man charged with homicide after a shooting death in Elmira back in August is facing new charges. Michigan State Police say 26-year-old Kyle Karsten of Elmira wrote himself checks from a family trust totaling more than $11,000 in 2023. Police say he also allegedly forged the signatures on the checks without permission from the trustees. Now, in August of 2024, Karsten was arrested and charged with homicide after the shooting death of a 57-year-old man. Troopers were called out to a home in the 2700 block of Camp 10 Road in Elmira, where they found the man with a gunshot wound and unresponsive. MSP said Karsten was found near a pole barn and arrested. It's unclear if these charges are related. According to court records, he's still facing a charge of homicide, first-degree murder, premeditated.
Also out of Otsego County, a Johannesburg man is facing charges after police say he threatened someone with a knife. MSP says they responded to a report of an assault at the Dollar General store on M32. The suspect had left the scene, but troopers spoke to the victim, who said 34-year-old Adam Knutson threatened him with a knife. Police say the incident started with an argument inside of the store where Knutson was told to leave, and the police were called. They say the victim followed him to the parking lot where the incident happened. Police spoke with witnesses and reviewed surveillance footage. Knutson was interviewed at his home but denied the allegations. A report was turned over to the Otsego County Prosecutor's Office, and an arrest warrant was authorized last Friday. Knutson was arraigned this week on one count assault with a dangerous weapon. His bond was set at $1,000 cash bond.
When a heart stops beating, minutes matter. As a paramedic, Daryl Case knows that well. He's seen it as part of his job, and unfortunately, he saw it with his own dad. His dad's death inspired a movement to make sure lives aren't lost because the right tool for the job is nowhere nearby.
Like in my dad's case, you always assume that an ambulance will show up, but when the ambulance is already on an emergency, yeah, one's going to show up, but in his case, it came from twice as far away.
But on December 19th, 2020, time ran out for Terry Lee Case. Despite his son, Fire Chief and paramedic Daryl Case, being one of the first on the scene, CPR simply wasn't enough.
As a first responder, there's nothing more frustrating than not having the tool that you need for the job.
That tool that might have saved a life would have been one of these, an automated external defibrillator. While schools and public buildings and ambulances have them, individuals, even first responders off the clock, often don't. Following his dad's death, memorial contributions were made. Daryl and his family decided to put those funds to use.
The thought process was, well, let's see if we can buy AED and give it to a first responder.
Their first AED was bought, and everyone insisted it stay with Daryl.
I still have that AED, and it's been used numerous times.
Which would have been a fitting legacy for Terry, but
the snowball has rolled a little bit, and I think we're up to AED number 16.
Yep, that one AED purchased with memorial contributions turned into a mission, which led to more donations, more AEDs purchased, and the creation of the TLC Foundation.
A lot of people think tender loving care, which is great because that's the thought process of what we're doing this for. But they're also, my dad's initial is Terry Lee Case.
16 AEDs donated and counting. They aren't given to departments. They go to individuals.
There's a certain breed of first responder that just never shuts it off. So we wanted to be able to give those folks a tool.
From Kingsley, Cedar, Lake Ann, Interlochen, Manton, Cadillac, and one up in Antrim County to one Tyler Lee Case.
One of the AEDs went to my son, who was an Antrim County deputy, because he didn't have an AED in his cruiser.
Now he does. And more first responders having access to this tool may help some families avoid the same loss that sparked the TLC Foundation and its mission. Terry Lee Case isn't around to see his legacy, but those who are stewards of it think he would approve.
Totally believe he would have wanted it this way, was that we continue to push forward and to spread that generosity to others and hopefully impact somebody positively.
And the TLC Foundation runs on donations, and they're always looking for first responders who might be interested in having one of those AEDs. To learn more or to contribute to the cause, we have information posted with this story right now on our website, UpNorthLive.com.
There is an urgent need for blood donations, and Up North Live viewers and staff stepped up to help today. The Varsity Blood Bus stopped at the Up North Live studios, where more than 24 people made the life-saving decision to donate. At least 30 pints of blood were collected, which equates to saving up to 90 lives. Thank you so much to everyone who donated, and be sure to mark your calendars. That is me, by the way. I did donate as well, my first time. Mark your calendars. The Varsity Blood Bus will be back at the Up North Live studios on May 8th.
The city of Gaylord is looking for ideas on how to improve its downtown with help from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. They held an open house this morning, but if you missed it, you can submit ideas through an online survey. Gaylord's working with the Michigan Main Street program, and the first step in the process is evaluating the community. This morning's open house brought together residents and leaders to bounce around ideas at a local pub.
We're seeing a lot of growth in our area, and so because of that growth, we want it to be cohesive. And we want it to be in a way that really celebrates our community and highlights who we are. And so I wouldn't say that there is any specific problem. I think it's great opportunity.
Tobin says the DDA will set goals with Michigan Main Street once the ideas are collected. You can find a link to the survey on our website, UpNorthLive.com. The survey closes at noon tomorrow.
You are taking a look at the completed Amazon distribution center in Gaylord. The facility is 42,500 square feet on 8 acres of land in the industrial park. An on-site manager says operations began in mid-September and that they recently hired their last batch of workers through the local Michigan Works branch. He says there may be more job openings in the coming months, though.
Making news around the state. State Senate again moved to greenlight key bills aimed at making the government more transparent. Senators passed Senate Bill 1 and 2 in a 33-2 vote during a session today. It's a repeat of an action taken during the last legislative session, which ultimately failed in the House. The bills would make the governor's office and state legislature subject to the Freedom of Information Act and requests from the public. It's long been seen as a loophole. All other state agencies already have to comply.
Some sad news to pass along to you tonight. Traverse City native and contestant on The Voice, Ryan White Maloney, has died. He was 44. Outlets including People Magazine and USA Today got confirmation of Maloney's death from the Clark County coroner in Nevada. Playing at the National Cherry Festival in this clip from 2014, the singer-songwriter had been featured on several Up North Live news reports during his run on the televised singing competition back in 2014. In 2001, he joined other local musicians to form the band Indulge. The group played throughout Michigan and moved to Las Vegas in hopes of furthering their careers.
Coming up in weather, some sunshine back in the forecast, so look at how long that's going to last. Coming up after the break.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.